Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm going to be reviewing and analysis and all that type of stuff for the Arkham quadrilogy and going over which game is my personal favorite, going over each game in the quadrilogy and talking about it in detail and what I like about it, what I didn't like, reviewing it, going into detail about certain things. Now, with Suicide Squad, To Kill the Justice League on the way, I thought, what better trilogy to go back and revisit and talk about, and other than pretty much the Arkham trilogy, the definitive Batman set of games. And with the mixed reception of Suicide Squad, I honestly felt, why not? Why not talk about the games that really got me into the series and just really set the core standard of how to make a superhero game. Batman Arkham Asylum, City, Origins, and Night. I know Arkham Origins really isn't made by by Rocksteady, but I count it. It's a great game, and I'm going to be talking about it. It's my video. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. So, Arkham Asylum. Now, here's the thing. I actually played this one second, but after replaying it so many times, it's the first in the trilogy, and it shows. Now, this is probably one of my favorite games for many of the core reasons for each of the games that pretty much. But this one set the tone. With this Batman game, it set the tone in multiple ways, taking multiple cues from the animated series and pretty much, being the core pillar of the start of the trilogy, being the initial start of combat, the villains, and taking cues from Grant Morrison and Bill Sienkiewicz's graphic novel, Arkham: A Serious House and Serious Earth. This game was pretty much the first introduction to most people to play Batman. Now, going back and replaying it, the game does show its age in the way that it's very limited in what you can do, and it being semi-open world and not really having a whole lot you can do besides collecting Riddler trophies and getting the, the little things for Quincy Sharp and all that. The story is the very kind of simple. Joker breaks out after bringing him to the Arkham Asylum. Oh, you find out that there's a undercover plot that the Joker is trying to do this or that, and you beat the Joker and half the villains on the way there, pretty much throughout the story. You do get some introduction to some of the villains, but later villains come up later down the line. There is a lot of death in this game, which is kind of shocking because, you wouldn't expect them to go that far, but you have Joker or certain characters getting killed off or something happening to them, which is great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Even in the villain boss fights, each one being uniquely different from one another, and that's just amazing for me. For the gameplay, Batman's core principles are gadgets, combat, and stealth. And this game doesn't shy away from that. The combat feels just as crunchy, even if it's the first basis. If there's not much, there's really a lot to do. It does give some enemy variety, but there are some problems where I feel that it doesn't have enough. And some of the boss fights, I don't feel there are enough to really sell the game completely nowadays. But it is a first basis, and it is a great first basis. Batman's combat feels just as brutal as it does great. Now, there are elements where I feel that the game does show its age in sound design, but it's still great and atmospheric. and I feel it still is great. Even if there's some little nitpicks here or there with enemy variety, bosses, and all that, the game tells its story going into a deeper of Batman's psyche without holding your hand and telling you his backstory. You know, even when he's fighting criminals and beating the ever-living crap out of them, it takes time to focus on the dichotomy of Joker and Batman. It doesn't waste your time by telling you his origin or stuff like that. It gives you his origin at some points or hints at it through his character. And the characters like Scarecrow can bring that out. And some of the greatest moments in the game are through the villains. And, you know, the talented Kevin Conroy bringing this character to life from the animated series, and the Joker being played by the awesome Mark Hamill. The stealth, the combat, it's a great first basis. Is the game flawless? No. It does show its age in a lot of areas, not having a lot to do, and some little nitpicks here or there do come into mind. But it is still a great game. And if I would give it a rating, it would probably be at the bottom or second to bottom of my list. It is a great game. It's not flawless, but I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a great start, but in the entirety of the trilogy, it's still great. But going into Arkham City, let's break this one down. Arkham City is probably by far one of my top favorite of the Arkham series. Second only to 1. Now, I'll get into that one later on and after this, but Arkham City took every problem that I had with Arkham Asylum and said, F you, we're fixing it. Because going into this game, I didn't know that they hinted at it through Arkham Asylum. In a secret office in the mayor's, or the soon-to-be mayor, Quincy Sharp, or the warden's office. There, you explode a certain part of the wall, and presto bammo, you get the little Easter egg. Going into this game blindly, never playing Arkham Asylum when it first came out, or I just went and played this. I didn't know about the other games. I was a kid, and I was lost at a few points, and I found it weird, but I got the hang of it, and going back and playing it nowadays, it is still justifiably great. Even better. Now, it does have a few problems in its storytelling, but and a few things that I can take issue with in nitpicks, but that's neither here nor there. Now, going into the villains, the limited villain variety and open world are completely middle-fingered. You don't get to drive around in the Batmobile or nothing, but you do get a sense of mobility. With Arkham City being your playground, an abandoned prison world type thing for the open world, you have 3 districts. The Two-Face district, the Penguin district, and the Joker. And a few side little bits here or there, which are great. You have multiple side tasks. The Riddler returns, obviously, to piss everyone off who was annoyed by him in the first game. Catwoman is a second playable character, which I will get into my nitpicks with that here in a bit. Having actual returning characters like Alfred, Oracle, and actually seeing Robin for the first time in the whole series, which is Tim Drake, and getting a sense of it is a continuation. Now, going into this game, Batman does look a lot different compared to the first. A different player model for sure, in the facial bits and also in the outfit, but it doesn't change the performance in my eyes. It's still great. It feels like an evolution. in some regard. And going into this game, I felt that combat-wise, it took every nitpick I had, flipped it on its head. You have multiple strategies and ways to deal with things, and honestly, it's so much better for it. Trying to play this on New Game Plus at times is a nightmare, but it's still fun. You have enemy types, the shields, and there are different enemy types. They're all thugs, but I feel it works for the world. You have the electrical stun baton enemy types, which are greatly changed a little bit with how you take them out, adding shield enemies, adding different gun enemies like shotguns and, what's it called? I believe ninjas were added, and so many more. So with villains being hinted at in the first game coming into this one, like Penguin, Mad Hatter, Ra's al Ghul, Hugo Strange, Two-Face, and so many more, and returning villains like the Joker, Bane, and I believe Killer Croc makes a brief cameo in an Easter egg with the sewers. And Easter eggs like for Scarecrow as well. This game probably was my favorite experience ever. Even bringing all the entirety pretty much of Batman's rogues. Like the twist in the storytelling. Now the storytelling is not flawless, but it is still great. And sometimes there's moments that I missed when replaying the game. I find little interesting new things. And honestly, going back and replaying this, it's still great in my eyes. It does have some flaws, and it is not perfect, but the great changes to the gadget wheel, adding certain gadgets, the boss fights, oh my god, the boss fights. If you thought the Arkham Asylum's boss fights, there really wasn't many, and that there was maybe a lot of, they were in between and meh, this game flips you off. Because you have multiple boss fights, each one more different than the last, each one with various just stages. From Solomon Grundy to Ra's al Ghul to the glorious Mr. Freeze boss fight to Deadshot. I wouldn't say Mad Hatter really gets a boss fight, but to multiple things. It does have a DLC, but it's in between. I love the Harley Quinn DLC. It has some great moments. The only thing that holds this game back is Catwoman. Her campaign feels very unneeded. It doesn't really fit in some regards with the story, and it feels like there was a lot of cuts out of it. Just to where it fits in some regards. Now, in some regards, you could take her campaign out and the game still can run fine, which I never played her campaign till the Return of Arkham collection. And honestly, it does show with the fact that she doesn't really have any side missions. She doesn't have much to I wouldn't say to her gameplay, but to her extra stuff in the world. All she really gets is maybe some jewelry stuff because Two-Face took her stuff, and pink Riddler trophies. That's it. That is the problem, in my eyes. I think that going into this game, I felt that Catwoman was really the only thing that held this game back. I felt that they really needed to, if they were ever going to remake this game, they really need to fix her in some regards, because her story doesn't feel as needed, and it doesn't feel really dueled with the story of Batman in some regards. And if I was going to rate this game, it'll be a solid 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, it's not flawless, but it does have some amazing moments. And pretty much it is the trump card of the Arkham City is to Asylum. It is pretty much a great... It breaks the sequel won't work trope. Pretty much.
Stay tuned for part 2, because I will be going over Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight, which are one of probably my second favorite game in the entirety of the trilogy, and the other is pretty great, but it's far from perfect for a lot of reasons. So make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that jazz really helps me out. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye-bye.